Salutations and welcome to the Manabar Video Game Podcast, episode 26. We forgot to celebrate the 25th anniversary. It is October 16th, 2019, and I'm joined here with Matt Samarco.
Hey, how you doing?
And Danielle Party.
Hi.
How you guys doing?
Hi.
Doing great.
I don't know why I can do that pretty well, but anyway. We're doing good. Well, I'm doing good.
I was doing great, and then Dan started talking, so...
Yeah, that's how it goes.
How are you
normally.
doing?
Again.
Thanks, Matt.
I was fantastic until Dan spoke up.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
I'm Danielle.
Reiterated his existence.
Bite me.
I don't know what that is.
Pretty slow news week this week for video game news, I would say. And normally this is when I have like a bit cooked up, but
There is a lot of news, actually.
there's no bit.
Well, Blizzard's still on fire. That's
True.
Everyone's
they
talking
are
about that.
literally on fire. We can talk about that for a while. Some Sonic news suddenly in the airwaves today. And but before we get into any of that, what have you guys been playing? Actually, I'm going to start.
Okay.
After
I don't know
I
why you would ask if you're just going to
Pose
Yeah,
the question.
take
All
the
right,
reins.
go ahead.
Well, all right. So I have a bit of a conundrum. And I need you guys to either validate what I'm about to say or convince me otherwise. I might trade in Borderlands and not play it.
You don't
Okay.
like Borderlands?
I don't know. I don't know how I'm feeling about it.
Well, it's a great game, so...
Should I just keep
It was.
trying?
I wouldn't go great. I'd say good. It's a good game.
Ooh, good.
I can say that because I beat it.
How far are you?
I beat it. Oh,
I was
sorry.
talking
You're talking
about
to him.
Level 14.
Oh,
I
That's not
I
very
don't
far.
think I'm into looter shooters. I think that's what it came down to. Because it's like,
I will tell you, if
The
you're looking
missions-
for a story, like I felt it kind of fell flat.
Like it's
At the end.
fun at times. I like
Yeah,
the
isn't
little
it-
interactions, but I feel like the flavor I've gotten through the first 14 levels is pretty much all I'm getting out of the rest of the game. Like, does anything really interesting happen, or is it just
No, not at all.
No.
I mean, the looting isn't even the best part. For me, it's just like the moment-to-moment gameplay and gunplay and
yeah, the gunplay's
action,
just
I think, is very good.
fine. I don't know. Like the gameplay, the gunplay is very solid. Like
Yeah.
it's not that I am have an issue with any like specific aspect of the game. It just feels kind of boring. To be
It's
honest.
weird.
I wasn't bored. I just
Yeah.
the story was not like
It did feel a
something
little
happened at the end, and I was like, oh.
It did
Like
feel
I was
like-
actually on my phone watching or doing fantasy football at the end. I was just like, eh.
I did feel it was like maybe 5 to 8 hours longer than it needed to be. It was a pretty long game. It was like 30 plus hours, I feel like, just to get through the main campaign.
Which is
That-
funny because growing
the
up, I
ending
feel like
did drag.
I used to. I think that used to be my major complaint about games is they should be longer, and now I feel like, yeah,
Too much to play.
Well,
'cause
then there's
I have
padding, which
not
is
enough time on my hands now, so now I'm wishing games to be somewhere around that 10 to 15 hour range. You know, like Plague Tale, that was a perfect amount of time game, but I don't know. I'm
I'm gonna guess by that latest comment you beat.
oh, I have beaten a Plague Tale. Yes.
Oh, good, yeah, okay.
Hoping for a sequel actually.
If I were you, if you've gotten to 14, nothing. I mean, unless you're obsessed with the characters in the
I
Borderlands
do
universe.
like my character. But
I mean, yeah, but he
it's-
doesn't.
It's
like
interesting enough. Like the other characters in the universe and the NPCs and the missions, they're somewhat interesting. I just the minute to minute play, I have to keep driving back and forth between locations. I know you can fast travel.
that
certain
has
areas,
helped me
but-
tremendously in this game.
I don't know. I think I'm
Fast
going to give it a few more hours before I make my final decision. But it's just like, why bother if I'm not enjoying it? I was talking to both of you about this off air last week. I'd rather go and play. I was thinking about playing through all the Metal Gear Solid games.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And
I would approve that.
You know, I'm playing through the Zeldas, and you and I, Dan, have Call of Duty coming out like next 2 weeks.
And Matt. Oh,
That's-
come on.
that's
You're
not
playing the
getting it.
mobile game. You should just.
Yeah, why are you guys not playing the mobile game? I know it's a phone game. You guys don't like them, but they're
I just-
free and you love Call of Duty.
Data.
Okay.
I don't want to play a shooter on my phone. If it was. Actually, that would be the
It plays
one
pretty
game.
decently, especially like
that
the
would be
Battle
one of the
Royale.
one games that I wouldn't mind playing a strategy, like almost like a turn-based strategy on the phone. Like you have like a squad, and it's like, typical famous, people from the Call of Duty series.
Well, that's
that
kinda
would be neat.
how Ascension is. It's like taking turns, a turn-based. It's a card game, but it's a turn-based game. But you don't have to be live. You can like do it, set it down, and like pick up your next turn 7 days later.
Oh, okay, that's not bad.
Which is kind of cool. But yeah, like same reason I don't play Mario Kart. It's really just the data, and I don't feel like draining my battery doing it. I might give it a try sometime when I'm at home and on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But I just kind of like Dan, I also had no real interest in playing it. But yeah, we have Call of Duty coming out.
That's next week, right? Next Friday.
That is next Friday. Yeah, I'm very excited for
There's a
that.
lot coming out. Isn't
My
it? Like,
birthday.
I actually pulled something out of your hat. I actually canceled Outer Worlds.
He's looking at me when he said your hat. Dan.
Yes. Oh,
the
I
viewers
did
don't-
not mention. Dan, I am turning towards your direction at a 30-degree angle. Yeah, I canceled Outer Worlds, the pre-order, just because, Death
that game
Stranding,
looks great.
you were telling me, like, Death Stranding's coming out a week later and all this other junk. It's like, you know what?
Well, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. But
Outer Worlds is the type of game where I'm going to want to play it for a while. So you know what? I am going to wait. I'm going to wait on it, wait for it to get a little cheaper. Then I'll hit it up because, I have Link's Awakening is being given to me this Friday. I'm going to have a bunch of other games, to play in the meantime. So, but going on to games that I've actually been playing, because I actually didn't, I'm talking about potentially quitting Borderlands. I haven't actually played Borderlands in the past week.
damn shame.
I played and finished up a Plague Tale. Kind of like what I said last week. It's, every time I thought I was going to be bored, it kind of sucked me back in. The ending was good from a story aspect, but man, was it annoying. Those guards are just annoying. It's like every time I thought I was a few inches behind the cart, I ended up being a few inches forward. I just kept getting hit with arrows.
so yes,
That sounds awful.
So that dip in the stairwell where you go down and then back
Yeah.
up, I literally died at that about 5 times. I was getting so
Take the
frustrated.
number of times you died, times that by 4. That's how many times I died in that
it
stretch.
was so
Just 'cause of
frustrating.
dumb stuff.
Yeah,
It's
it
like-
wasn't.
It's like, ooh, I want to pick up this stuff. Oh, there's a guy coming.
Yep.
And you can't really
Yeah.
you can't dodge too late or anything like that. The dodge mechanic's not really that good, but that aside, it actually reminded me a lot of Assassin's Creed 2's ending, because you get to kind of fight this Pope type figure. In Assassin's Creed 2, at the end you get to fist fight the Pope, which is just I thought was awesome.
You don't fist fight this guy though.
So I don't want to give too much away about the ending, but the game's definitely something everybody should play.
Yeah, it concerns me a little because I was actually looking really forward to that, but now that's one of the things I hate the most. Like, I never got into that whatever Zelda, the Waterworld Zelda game.
Phantom Hourglass,
No, GameCube.
Wind Waker.
Oh, Wind Waker.
Yes, where you're in that stupid dungeon early on, and if you keep getting caught, and you have to go back.
Yeah, but
Is that,
once
the
you
same?
kind of get the
it's-
hang of that little area, though, that's 10 minutes, 20 minutes.
It's not really. It's not really
I understand.
sneaky.
The first time I played that game,
It's just
it's
a nuisance. It's not
thrown in the
fun.
dungeon
It's
quite
just
a few
nuisance.
times.
The
I feel
first half, I would say the first quarter of the game is when you're kind of defenseless. Then you start having that whip, and then you can start.
Oh, you're talking about a Plague Tale.
Yeah, sorry, I'm talking about a Plague Tale. Then you can once you get the whip and you can throw it at enemies and
There was
actually
only
kill them.
2 or 3 incidences in the games where it's like, all right, I know what I need to do. I know I can do it. It's just I'm not taking my time. I'm going too fast. That's all it was. It wasn't anything like Zelda where it's like, oh, you did this or that and the other thing, and you got. I would still give it a try. I think it's worth
I'll still
trying.
probably give it a shot, but we'll see.
But aside from that, I've been still playing the Minish Cap, although I got to a really annoying part recently where I'm at the end of this dungeon and I need this thing to get further in the dungeon, and I think I need to go elsewhere on the world map to get it, and I don't really know where it is without getting into too many details.
Oh god.
Well, I mean, the game's old. So
Just
you have this power in the game where you'll see these lines of blocks, and you have this power where if you hold your sword button, you charge it up and you do a spin move while you're on these blocks, you can multiply yourself by the amount of blocks. I only have where I can get 2 extras of myself for a total of 3, but I need 4 at this certain juncture. It's like, crap, I've been taking so many breaks in between playing this game. Where do I need to go to do that?
just gotta get a bunch of bombs and just bomb every
No.
plant and wall you see.
No, it's a fairy.
This isn't the
in the
original
game.
Nintendo
A
one.
fairy grants me the power. I think I have to find there was this sparkling tree I passed by not too long ago. I think I have to go to her and fuse a keystone with it. It's this whole thing. It's this whole production. But aside from that, haven't really been playing too much. Dan, you finished Control. Have you been spending? And you finished Borderlands. Has there
Yes, I
been
just
any-
finished Borderlands and I just finished Control.
Was there anything else that entered your game realm over the past week?
I really started digging a lot deeper into the Zelda game.
Link's Awakening?
Link's Awakening, yes.
The new one, the remake.
Yes. And it is awesome. I'm really enjoying the puzzles.
You played the Game Boy one, or when it originally came out?
No, that
Your first time?
Yeah, so this is the first time playing it, and there's a lot of like Super Mario references in the game. I don't know if that is.
Yes, those were there in the.
They were,
yeah,
and
like
at one point you it turns into a side scroller. I don't know if that happened.
You know, I played it like 20 years ago, so I might not remember.
Oh, okay. Yeah, at one point it turns into like a little side scroller. Like when you're in a dungeon, you go down.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in the trailer.
Yeah, so that was pretty neat.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
I think I do remember that.
And then there's also there's like a hut in certain villages. And when you go in, and the hut is actually shaped like a telephone, like an old telephone. So you go in, and he actually picks up the phone, and it kind of gives you a hint of like what you need to do next. So I thought that was kind of neat, especially with a game that I'm not, constantly playing. I'm kind of like picking it up and putting it down as I go. And so that's actually really, really helpful because I completely forgot what the hell I was doing. And I was like, oh, what's this little phone thing? And it's like, oh, you have to go to the bottom.
That sounds like
map.
something they put in only the new version.
That I feel like is new.
I don't remember. It doesn't ring a bell, but
because I remember people telling me the
could have
game
just
was
not remembered.
Pretty difficult, so maybe that's something they added into the
It
remake.
would that would totally make sense. That would be
easier.
extremely difficult because it doesn't really give you any hints. At the beginning of the game. Then as you go on, as you beat a level, it's like, oh, hints, prairie. Oh, okay, there's a prairie in the middle of the thing.
That's why I want to play the original first.
Oh, yeah.
I wanna get that hardball in so that I can like play Link's Awakening and be like, I don't need no damn hints.
Yeah, but you got a ton of Zelda games. You got to push through them.
It's close on the list.
Okay, all right. At that point,
how does the game look? Because I heard there was like maybe a little bit of like stuttering and lag issues.
Really?
A little
that's so
bit.
unfortunate.
It's not.
Oh, and you have the newer Switch too, and it's still like.
Well, it's not supposed to be any like enhancement.
Oh, it's
like,
just
graphics,
the battery.
Yeah,
That's right.
Just the battery.
You kept both of them, right?
No, I traded in the other one.
Oh, I thought you were gonna give your old one to your wife.
If I found another one at a cheaper price, I was gonna try and do that. But, no, you notice it, but it's not detrimental to the game. If there's a lot of enemies on like the next area, I feel like it might take a little bit of it, but it's not really noticeable. I've caught it every
I'd really like them to start hammering home at least the first party titles with the stuttering though, because that's.
What was the other games that were stuttering on the Switch?
Link's Awakening. That's the one we were talking about. Breath of the Wild at times would chug definitely.
I mean, I feel like Breath of the Wild gets a pass because it's so big.
Yeah. By the way, I only have 2 more Zelda games to play before I play Link's Awakening, so that's actually pretty close. I would say. I think I'm gonna hold off, which sucks because I'm getting it like Friday. But go on. So you're enjoying it though?
So yeah, no, I'm definitely enjoying it. I'm enjoying the puzzles. I feel like the levels are shorter, which is kind of neat. It's just more levels, but they're shorter. And I mean, at the end of the game, they could be like, oh, guess what? Those were only like the first few levels, kind of like they did as a kid in Ocarina of Time, where it's like, oh, these 3 big ones, and then you realize, oh, those are just the beginning. And then you have all the actual temple ones when you're an adult, but. No, I'm really enjoying the heck out of it right now. Especially I love that you're able to jump. Now you can like jump over enemies in this one. You get like some sort of feather, which I'm guessing is what Mario Kart makes that reference to, because you get the leaf and you could jump in one of the Mario Kart games. And I'm wondering if maybe that had to do with it.
Not sure.
Because anyway, but no, I'm enjoying that, and then I'm playing. I'm still playing Greedfall. And it is definitely, if you're a BioWare fan or a Witcher fan, I think this game is definitely worth your time in between the lack of, there being a great Mass Effect or Dragon Age game coming out anytime soon. So if you're really into like dialogue and making a lot of, important choices that, this is going to make this choice if I do this, or I think it's really fun. The hack and slash part of it is a little, like I said, it's still a little clunky. But if you can get over that, it's, like I said, it's a lot of fun. I'm trying to think of anything else I'm playing at the moment. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head, but Next week will be Call of Duty, and I'll be excited about
You
that.
still playing Hearthstone?
I've kind of dropped off.
Oh.
So, and no, that is not in coincidence with the issue with Hong Kong or whatever it is. That's just... I just
wasn't
stopped.
even thinking of that.
No, it was just kind of funny. Like, I was thinking like, I'm
Well, I just knew
quitting,
you
but
used to play all the time.
I used to, but I don't know. I think they've also added way too many sets that I'm just like, I don't pay any money into it. So, and it's a pay to win game. So I just kind of stopped caring.
Matt,
So,
you
Andy
also play video games.
I do enjoy video games from time to time.
Why don't you tell us what you've been playing?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I've been playing the usual, still playing Mario Kart, Call of Duty Mobile, and World of Warcraft, but I'm not going to talk about those. I actually played through Blood and Truth, the PSVR game that came out, I think.
Was that the one with the disembodied hands I saw you playing with?
yeah. Well, that's all like VR games, I feel like.
Disembodied Hands?
the floating
Explain yourself.
hands. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
When I was watching from a third person watching you play the game, all I saw were these like chopped off hands in the middle of the screen doing stuff. Maybe it didn't look like that in the goggles.
Yeah, maybe it looked different because it just looks like kind of like your gun or whatever you're doing.
Oh, no, it looked like floating hands, but I think it looks a little different when you're actually like
Yeah, probably.
looking through the goggles
So
or the headset.
it's an interesting game. It's like you're basically in like a mob, and there's at the like very first scene of the game, there's like kind of a rival mob attacks you. So it's kind of this like war between you and this other kind of gang. And the characters are actually pretty interesting. Just like it's like your family. It's like your mom and your sister and your brother, and you're kind of like in this mob family together, kind of making sure defending your empire. So you're going on these like fun heist missions and like getting intel and like saving different people in your family and whatnot. So I think the story and characters are actually pretty interesting. The gameplay itself was fine at the beginning. Like it's basically turns out that it was more on the rails than I thought it was going to be. Like I thought it would be kind of this open world. Here's like a house, get to the safe or whatever. But it's basically like an on rails shooter.
Oh, it's a rail shooter?
Yeah,
Really?
I mean, so you're typically like you get to choose when you go forward, and there's instances where you can kind of strafe to the left or to the right on the screen, but it's basically, you're shooting ahead of you, you can't go back, you can't really like move your body around. It's just basically like strafing to the left and right, and then, you can like look at a certain area, and if it has like an icon, you can go there. So it's pretty linear in that respect, which was a little disappointing. And then I felt like the shooting wasn't that fine. It wasn't like, it didn't feel good, and I felt like I was missing a lot of shots that I didn't miss in like games like when I was playing Skyrim. It felt a lot nicer. Just like the bow and arrows and the shooting in that game felt a lot nicer. And I just got to the point where I think I was on either the last level or the second to last mission, where I just kept dying, and like never was I screwed up that shot. It was like I'm shooting at this guy 2 feet away for 10, 15 seconds, and he's not going down because it's not like registering.
Were you using the PlayStation Move controllers?
Yes,
for
I was
that?
using the Move controllers.
So I'm wondering if that's just a matter of like the PSVR is like a newer technology. Those Move controllers were I don't think they've really updated them since the PS3 era. I'm wondering if that has a lot to do with it.
They're not always great, but I feel like I never had that problem in a couple of the other VR games that I was playing, like I was saying, Skyrim. Like you can shoot in that, and it feels pretty nice and it feels pretty accurate. So I just kind of got, at that point, I just got kind of frustrated and said I'm done with this game. So it's worth giving a shot if you've got nothing else to play on VR. It is kind of, actually think that the story was more interesting than I thought it would be. The characters are really interesting. They kind of really draw you into this world of like, oh, I'm a mobster now. I got to get back at these jerk other mobsters. Like it makes you sympathize for these kind of awful people in a way. But yeah, just the controls, which is kind of what you would want to be the most important, was kind of a bummer.
You would think with all the talk with the PS5 about like the haptic feedback and stuff like that they're probably going to be putting a lot of that technology into the VR as well.
I would hope, because like I just kind of got into VR at the end of last year on Black Friday because the deal was almost too good. I've always been curious, but the deal was like $200. I got 2 good games and like $65 in cash.
Did it come with Astrobot?
Yeah, it came with Astrobot and
nice.
Moss. So it was a really good deal, and I would recommend anyone, if you're interested in VR, maybe wait till Black Friday. Maybe there's going to be another, I'm sure, good deal that you could try it out then. But I'm definitely happy with it for the few games that I've enjoyed. But I do feel like I'm hoping, with PS5, maybe in 2021 they'll probably have like a new headset that'll kind of like maybe an Astrobot 2, which would be super exciting, and they could kind of get some of these kinks out of here that they've had, 4 or so years to look at.
Yeah, they're probably going to use this holiday to really push the sales on the Xbox and PlayStation stuff, like all of the old inventory and things like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was like another mega deal, maybe an even better one. Like if they package it with Astrobot again. I got to be honest, I've been, the real anti-VR guy, but I mean, Astrobot.
It's so good. It's it's almost worth like the $200. I'd almost be like, if you just want to play Astrobot for $200, if you can get the headset on a deal like that and it comes with that, I'd be like, yeah, it's almost worth it.
Astrobot is a lot of fun.
Plus, Resident Evil 7 is worth it.
Oh, that was another game. I was gonna say Resident Evil 7 had really good like shooting controls. So it's not like it's not like you can't do good shooting on it.
Interesting with Resident Evil 7. It felt weird playing it because wherever the center of your view is your reticle. So it's kind of goofy to look at an enemy. Like, you literally have to stare him in the face.
Like you're hitting him with laser beams.
Well, it's kind of like you feel like Cyclops. Actually, that would be really cool if you play like a VR game where you're like Cyclops or something, because where you aim.
From X-Men, yeah.
Yeah, so it was just funny. You'd like stare at the enemy like, and then you're clicking the trigger. But
please tell me you made that noise every time you look.
Yes, every time. But that was a good game. And then, I don't know, Matt, did you ever try Doom VR?
I did not.
It's actually pretty good. If you enjoy Doom, the only weird thing is the movement is very weird. It's not a fluid like regular Doom where you just can move any way you want.
Is it one of those like teleport?
Yeah, so it's a teleport,
there's
but
a lot of those.
they do it in a cool way where you played the original Doom, right?
Correct.
Or not the original
Doom
2016. Yeah, sorry. When you shoot an enemy, remember they turn into like multiple colors, and that's when you can do like the glory kill. So what you do in this Doom VR is when they get to, where they're turning all different colors and stuff like that, you actually teleport into them, and that's your glory kill. So, and then you gain health from doing that.
So I'm sorry, I haven't heard this kind of term for like, well, I've heard the term teleport before for other things. So how does this differ from the regular 2016 Doom?
Doom is like free moving, like
I guess I should change that. I know exactly what Doom 2016 was. Is the only thing that's changing is the special move you teleport into them?
Well, you can't move otherwise. You
just teleport to your next kill.
You teleport to anywhere you want. So you can move, but you move in like segments. So
why do they do that?
That's because I think that might be the default in Skyrim too, but you can change it. I think a lot of that has to do with like motion sickness.
Yeah, it
reason,
could be
easier for some
but
people.
the way I had to play it like that, I guess because of the teleportation, like glory kills, that kind of made it necessary. But it would be because it's helpful when you're aiming. You don't want it to flip all over the place, and I can completely understand how that would be. If you move over here, your camera moves over here, but not. But
did you use the move controllers with this as well?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, you're just using the other one to teleport. So basically, you have the gun in your right hand, and in your left hand, think of it like as you have like a directional, and it shows like a green icon all over the map. And if you aim over there and let it go, you teleport to there. And you're going to be whatever direction you're facing, you're going to be facing that when you teleport to it. So if you're facing forward and you teleport forward, you're going to be facing that. There's a way to like flip. So once you get there, you can almost do like in Resident Evil where you do like a 180. Except this one, it does it with your camera. So it like quickly flips it back. So then like if you go to a corner of a room and then you quickly flip back, you can easily see all the enemies. It was fun. It was a quick campaign. It was only like 6 to 8 hours. And if you loved 2016 Doom in VR, it felt really cool, especially when you get like a shotgun blast and you're doing it.
But it's
really
like
close.
its own unique game. It's not the same. You're not playing through Doom 2016 in VR, right? It's like you're playing Doom.
Like a modified version.
It's like a modified version, but it's actually you actually kind of play along with the story that was in 2016. So it's based on the same world. It's actually kind of funny. You actually play as one of the dead people that you see in the beginning of the Doom 2016. There's a guy that gets like murdered in like one of the first rooms that you start in. It's not like a spoiler or anything, but that you started in 2016. And he actually somehow comes back to life through like robotics or whatever. And that's another reason or how they move you in weird segments. You're a robot. You're not really like a regular human.
So it is a different game, pretty much.
Well, yeah, like I said, it
Almost
looks
like an expansion.
Yeah,
but also
it's just
VR.
a prequel. Essentially, it's a prequel that like goes into the same story of Doom 2016. But it was fun. It's cheap. It's only like $20, $15. And compared to the Batman one There's like a Batman VR game, but I heard it's only like an hour long. That one, yeah, that one at full price was like $30. This game at full price is only like $30, so you can get it now probably for like $20.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like a lot of, I feel like some of the best experience, like Skyrim and Borderlands, like a lot of the best VR experiences seem to be like full-fledged games that weren't necessarily supposed to be on VR, and then they kind of like, you know, twisted them into the VR world.
Resident Evil 7.
Yeah, Resident Evil 7. Like, so it seems like it's just a matter of, can we get these developers to be like, from day one, all right, we're going to make a good full-fledged VR game. It's going to be like a 20-hour campaign or whatnot. Then it could be really something special. But it seems like a lot of them, just maybe because there's not enough player base to support it financially.
Aside from Astrobot, all of the best VR games are not exclusive to the VR.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like Tetris and all that stuff.
I feel like Borderlands would be. I know they made Borderlands VR.
Yeah, VR.
But I feel like if they did the Borderlands like trilogy on VR, that would be fun.
That would be cool.
That would be pretty fun. So, but yeah, no, it's definitely worth it. I can grab it and let you borrow it.
Get on your naming conventions. We don't need to get this confused about talking about one game. I don't want to say
Doom 2016.
Yeah, it's funny because like I was asking him a minute ago, is this the same campaign? Because I think I've looked at it a bunch of times and I could never really suss, like, is this like a 2-hour thing? Is it just the whole game in VR, like Skyrim and Resident Evil?
Oh, wait a minute. Is this one for VR? What's this one for VR called? Just Doom?
Doom VR. Or,
yeah,
sorry, virtual fucking reality.
Okay, at least there's a subtitle.
Yeah,
there.
But essentially they wanted you to know that it was in the same realm as the 2016 game, but it's a different, obviously it's a VR.
I actually just remembered something I forgot to mention. I do know the next game I'm going to be playing for like the next couple weeks. It's actually a lengthy one. It'll probably take me right through Call of Duty, if not past, is Horizon Zero Dawn.
Ooh, that's a great one.
Oh, very nice. Are you gonna play Control before that?
I knew about probably before either of you and had been wanting to play since...
Oh yeah, I think you were like talking.
We were roommates.
I was like,
when
this
he
game
mentioned
looks,
that.
I thought it looked stupid for some reason.
And I'm like, Matt, it's robot dinosaurs. You're fighting robot dinosaurs. How cool is it? And it just
looks like a big empty world to me. I was like, all right, robots are cool, but empty worlds are not exciting if there's a giant robot there.
And it's just one of those games that just got away from me. Like as time went on, so it's just kind of weird that like I was such a huge proponent of this game before it even came out, and I'm the last to play it. But really excited to play that, and yes, I am going to try Control.
Okay, yeah. Well, Control is obviously a lot shorter, but Horizon was a very special game. The world was beautiful. And the character, like even interacting like with the characters, the facial like animations and like the mouthing is like wow. Like,
I'm surprised Sony hasn't had any of their in-house studios make some VR exclusive games that are just like really good.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe it's easier said than done.
Astrobot is like a Sony studio.
Yeah, but that's the only one we ever talk about.
Gran Turismo.
I mean, I'm sure they
did. Gran Turismo apparently was well received, but I'm just not a big car person.
I mean, they just had like Concrete Genie. That's a.
What is that game? I just saw that it came out.
Is that VR only?
I don't think it's VR only, but it supports VR.
I was interested in trying it. That's why I'm wondering. Either that or they're really trying to gear up for the PS5 VR. Maybe that's what they're working on right now. I know Xbox is hard at work on a lot of games. They were buying up all those developers, even though, they still won't tell us anything about what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll hear a lot like next year at E3 about like hopefully an Astrobot 2 and maybe a couple other VR stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Horizon Zero Dawn will probably have a sequel to that at either next year or the year after.
Have they announced that or has that just been like assumed?
It's just like assumed across the industry that they're making it, but they haven't announced anything yet.
Naughty Dog now is exclusive to PlayStation. Didn't they like get bought by PlayStation recently or something? Or were they always PlayStation, no matter what? I think they were always making
exactly.
I think they were always making exclusives for PlayStation, but recently they actually got bought by PlayStation.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Oh, the same people that made the Sunset Overdrive.
Sunset Overdrive.
Oh no, wait. I'm sorry. Last of Us is Naughty Dog.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I thought Naughty Dog has always been a PlayStation.
Well, that's what you see. This is what happens when you're looking at your
but there
phone.
Was two. There was two companies because there was another one that was just recently bought. That was the one. So I believe not Sucker Punch.
Infamous.
Yeah. But I always get them mixed up. There's Sucker Punch, and then there's Insomniac, that's it. Insomniac is the one that makes.
Were they the one who was recently bought?
Yes, they were the one recently bought. Naughty Dog is.
But they were already
made
making
like Spider-Man. And,
they were already making PS4 exclusives though.
Yeah,
but they also, Sunset Overdrive was the one where they flipped over to the Xbox, and everyone was shocked, like, oh wow, they bounced into a different team, and now so Naughty Dog
which is
been
funny because I
PlayStation.
have gotten those two developers confused since the get go because they made Spyro and Crash Bandicoot at the same time. So I've always kind of had
I
trouble
still get
telling
them all
those
mixed up.
telling those two apart.
At some point, Infamous Second Son was really good too as an open world game. That was one of the first like big open world games for PlayStation 4. That was like and pretty much like plastered like Troy Baker's face on the main character. So essentially, if you want to play an open world game as Troy Baker, Infamous Second Son was a fun game.
So it's gonna come off as kind of an oxymoron, I guess, but Blizzard is on fire.
It is on fire.
Haha.
Literal freezer burn.
It's funny because it's not on fire, but it's Blizzard.
Those are really bad
I know.
Family Guy reference
Yeah,
Dan's
that's right.
putting out there. So Blizzard, we talked a bit about it last week, but it's only gotten worse.
Yeah, I feel like there's like a fire, like a fire engine from Blizzard came up to their giant fire, and like instead of shooting water, they're just throwing gasoline on it, like
Just
shooting
Let's put out
barrels
this
of gasoline,
we fight fire with fire, right? All right.
flamethrowers and gasoline.
There's so many companies that are like in flames because of this situation. The NBA and Blizzard and like all this stuff because of it. Jesus.
Yeah, but the NBA isn't based off of that one video.
Yeah, so I think
The video or the comment that the Blizzard
The NBA, someone from the NBA made a separate comment, I think. Because Blizzard, this all started with that kid who, what did he play?
it was a Hearthstone.
Hearthstone
Yeah,
player.
and then I thought he
had
made a comment.
Yeah, he was in an interview and he made some comments about independence, which who wouldn't want to be, and it Blizzard because China owns so much of everything that everybody's like really tiptoeing around their bullshit.
yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean,
Blizzard's just been making it worse ever since.
Yeah, so we talked about this last week. All that's really changed is two little things. Like Friday night at I don't know, it was like 6 or 7 or 8 because they wanted to bury it at the end of the news week so no one would talk about it during the weekend.
Yeah.
They had this letter that they posted to Twitter, which was, I guess, supposed to be their like half-hearted apology. They said like, oh, they're going to give the money back to the Hearthstone player. And then they said they're going to cut it down from a year suspension to 6 months, and they're going to cut the suspension down from the casters that were giving the interview down to 6 months too, which still seems like not a good, not really good enough change. And then they just kind of went back and forth about kind of like stepping around how they're like, oh, they want to have everyone be able to say what they want, but we also have certain rules. And I mean, like, I think their Chinese Blizzard Twitter said something like, oh, we don't want to offend the Chinese. Like, they basically just said it. Like, yeah, we don't want to offend the sanctity of China and the people there, which is kind of a bummer. And then they actually canceled. So Overwatch for the Nintendo Switch just came out, like, I think this week.
Yeah.
And they were going to have an opening event in New York with, like, some of the voice actors, and there was going to be all this stuff. They've been planning it for a few weeks now, at least. And they just like kind of somewhat abruptly canceled it like a couple days ago. And like they didn't even cancel it themselves. They had Nintendo do it. So like Nintendo has this kind of, half shot at Blizzard tweet where they're like, oh, we're sorry to say we have to cancel this event is being canceled on like basically on Blizzard's behalf, like trying to distance themselves from it. It just
no, there's all the workers have been protesting outside.
Yeah, like
the company and
this letter and like this response doesn't really reflect any of the workers that kind of
no,
it's really just coming from the head. Like there's a lot of it's
coming from Activision.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of even internal like struggle at Blizzard where they're just like really a lot of the workers are kind of like, hey, we don't agree with this decision either. What I'm most excited about is like this is really bad timing for them because BlizzCon is in I think 2 weeks. Like on the,
oh my god, really?
Yeah, it's like the weekend.
Oh, that's so funny.
It's like the weekend of the 1st. So they have
that's
there's
gonna
like,
be a train wreck.
Yeah, there's a bunch of like there's like a subreddit for boycotting BlizzCon and like they're setting up protests to go there. I mean, I'm assuming that they're gonna want to announce like Diablo 4, like at least maybe a teaser.
Yeah, correctly.
They'll probably have something about. They'll probably either launch or say, okay, Diablo Immortal, the phone game's going to come out really soon because it's been like over a year now since they
Developed
announced
in China.
since they announced that, and like all their plans are going to be shot because everyone's like, they always ask Q&As at these things. So like, are they going to not allow people to ask questions? Because I imagine every other question is going to be like, hey, why do you guys not support freedom? And
which is funny because I bet it almost seemed like they took a preemptive action without needing to, because like this kid had the interview. Like, if they had just done nothing, do you really think China would have called them out on it anyways?
I don't think so.
Like, it seems like they shot themselves in the foot from the get-go, and now they're like doing a PR cleanup on the issue that they created for themselves from really nothing. I mean, that happens over there all the time, you know?
I don't know. China, the government can be pretty harsh about like expression and freedom. So who knows?
They did
maybe
block all of South Park.
Yeah, like I don't think you don't even
From China.
they block South Park. Like I don't think you can even use Twitter in China. Like there's a lot of stuff that they're not.
Yeah,
they're fine just saying, all right, we're gonna outright ban this. So who knows what they would do if they didn't say anything.
That sucks. I mean, you hate to read about stories like this, and you know, I definitely support freedom of speech.
Hey, careful.
We could have Chinese
banned from the.
China.
Am I being banned from the podcast?
You never know. I don't know. It's just, you never know. No.
I was looking for the "Made in China" sticker on my microphone, wondering if they're going to shut it off at any point.
It's like everything's made there. No.
Yeah, I mean, no, it sucks, and you know, I don't want to get too political here, but you know, China basically like exports almost everything. Like, you know, all of the parts for all of our electronics are there, and I can understand why companies want to be cautious. It just seems like this was like way overcautious to the point of like offending your fan base, and a fan base that's already been a bit underwhelmed with you as of late. You Bungie detaching themselves from Activision. Activision's taken more control at Blizzard. People at Blizzard who have been there forever are leaving. It's like it's just not looking good. Like the bright spot in Blizzard over the past year has been WoW Classic, I would say. You know,
I'm surprised that they didn't just say like, "Hey, we support our players and their opinions don't necessarily reflect the opinions of Blizzard," which I would be fine with if they kind of distanced themselves from it. But to just completely like shut them off, it's just
to freaking ban him.
Yeah, it's just weird.
It's
not like he was speaking for Blizzard, or it's not like he was a Blizzard employee or something. It's just. The whole thing's kind of weird, but that's why I'm excited for 2 weeks from now to see what kind of mess that's going to be.
That is actually, I am excited to watch that fire grow. Like, you know, obviously, you know, I don't want all those workers to like go unpaid. You know, I want everything to work out in the end, you know, and I would say I generally liked Blizzard at one point or another. Really, the only game I still play of theirs is Overwatch, and that's pretty seldom now as it is anyways, but, you know, I'd still like to see it all work out. Dan really doesn't play any Blizzard things.
That's not true
at all. Well, except you play Diablo. That's right.
No, I like the Diablo, and I didn't care for the phone game that they announced, but I'm hoping at this.
We also played Hearthstone for quite a while.
Yeah, but I mean, it was just kind of there. It's not a game that I was like, a new expansion, I have to play it. It's just one of those like, I have downtime. Oh yeah, right. I forgot.
Actually, that's kind of funny. Like all three of us have been involved in Blizzard at one point or another, but like on different kind of factions. Like Matt was more like huge into WoW and maybe some Diablo at one point or another.
Yeah, and StarCraft. I was huge into
Heroes
StarCraft.
of the Storm.
Yep.
Well, you're a Blizzard whore.
I wouldn't say that. I do enjoy their games.
My friend owns stock of Blizzard Activision. I bet it's been tanking lately. I haven't checked. I wonder.
I think it's doing okay, actually. I checked it earlier today, and it was going fine.
Well, with the announcement of a potential new Diablo game, like the console PC version, then it might. But I really hope someone asked the question, like, is this like a mid-season joke, or like just like they did last year? Like everyone has phones, right? Like that was great. That kid did not mean to be a meme, but he pretty much made it.
The stock plummeted in like September of 2018. I don't know if that's maybe when around the time Bungie defected, but since that huge drop that stopped in like March, it's been steadily going up since then. So it's kind of interesting to see like how far it fell though.
Wow.
Like, it dropped a lot, you know, prior to it gaining some speed. But yeah, that's really interesting. Did you guys see the new Sonic images that got leaked today?
I did. They look pretty good.
Have they fixed his eyeballs?
It's hard to say because like you don't see it in motion. It's just a couple screenshots, and they're
I saw a blurry poster.
They're still like unconfirmed leaks, like from someone that knows someone that works at Paramount or whatever. But yeah, it looks like if these are actually like real legit, the movie's coming out in like February or March or something like that. Or
It was
maybe
supposed to
April?
be November.
Yes.
Originally.
It's supposed to be next month.
I think it indefinitely got pushed back from that.
Yeah.
So you don't think they did this as like a advertisement for the actual like
It's
movie or what?
In the past, like the Deadpool footage. Does everyone remember when that happened?
No.
Long before Deadpool got announced, there was this quote unquote leaked footage of them fighting during that like bridge scene when they're like fighting in the cars and stuff like that, and it was like rough test footage. It was all 100% CG, and it was leaked on like torrents and stuff like that, but everybody was freaking about how awesome it was. And then what do you know, a couple months later it was finally greenlit after Ryan Reynolds had been trying to get it greenlit for like years.
Nice.
Years and years and years. So I wouldn't put it past Sega for purposely leaking this to try to like
Yeah, I can see that.
there really has it's not like
Test the waters
it's not like
on
people are
what it
still
looks
like attacking them now. It was like an initial reaction back then, and then as soon as they said they were fixing it, everything kind of calmed down.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe this was on their part to try to kind of bump up the hype again.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they're gonna have like a new trailer at some point, at least by the end of this year, so we can actually see it in motion to see if it looks a lot better. But
You
so
guys
far,
could-
it looks good.
Gonna see it in theaters?
I probably will, just like out of like a
Curiosity.
tragic curiosity.
It was kind of like what happened with me with the Power Rangers movie. Just like I had to see
Nostalgia.
it. It actually wasn't too bad. Sonic, I'm not really sure. I'm probably just gonna wait and see what the audience reviews are for the movie, because that's the type of movie where I'd base off of like kind of word of mouth, see what people are saying about it, if it's good or not. I mean, the trailer, I had many more ill things to say about it aside from just the design. The trailer overall, the movie looked bad overall. It wasn't just the design of
yeah.
Sonic.
Oh, it
that was
looked
kind of just the cherry on top.
True.
Dan, I'm
Gangsta's
assuming you're
Paradise in the
not
middle
seeing
of the
it
trailer.
No.
anywhere close.
No.
You didn't see the Pokemon movie either, did you?
Detective Pikachu. No, but that did look good. It like
It was fine.
that was one of those movies that, hey, I'll put that on my list for things to possibly rent, because Amy would like that. But no, Sonic isn't it. Like, I like Sonic, but I couldn't see a movie.
Did this
based on
make
it.
you feel better about the movie, or you're still kind of the same? You were kind of going to see it either way, or
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a good movie. Like, I don't think reskinning the character is going to change it. Obviously, I've only seen that kind of one trailer, so I can't really speak to it until I actually see it. But it's hard to tell who this movie is aimed at. It seems like it's aimed at kids who don't care about Sonic anymore. Like, it seems it's aimed at like a kids audience, people like in the tween age, like 12.
Yeah, but I think that's
no
been
one
the
that's
issue.
12 plays Sonic games.
That's
so
been the issue of
that's why
Sonic
I'm
through the
confused
years,
by
is
it.
that kids never re-grappled onto it. It's just the same kids from the 90s.
Like, if this movie
continuing
came
to
out
play
in
1990,
1997, it would be the bomb.
maybe.
Like, that's the time to release this movie.
Speaking about bomb video game movies, you were watching Mortal Kombat the other day.
I was.
The
It's a
original?
classic. Yeah.
Mortal Kombat! That's a great movie.
It's a great movie, and people always say, "Oh, Mortal Kombat, it's good for a video game movie." No, it's not. It's a legitimately great movie. It's not trying to be Goodfellas. It's not trying to be Saving Private Ryan.
It's a guilty pleasure.
It's trying to be like a fun action movie
guilty
for
pleasure.
like, teenagers and kids and me and 32-year-olds, and it's awesome.
It's
It's a great mystery.
It's a bad movie, but it's a fun movie, and I enjoy it.
It's not a bad movie.
It is a goofy. I mean, again,
like a Bill and
everyone
Ted.
is entitled.
It's like just a
everyone
silly,
is
fun
entitled.
movie.
I think bad movies are good, so I'm not the best judge of character. But I mean, it is a extremely cringeworthy movie in certain parts. Like,
I haven't seen it in a very
But
long
like,
time.
what do they have to work with? They had to work with this like weird, dark fighting game, and they made this kind of interesting story with decent characters.
I like the movie. There's a lot of movies I like that I can acknowledge are bad, though.
I still think one of my favorite.
I don't
parts-
even acknowledge that it's bad.
Oh,
I'll have to rewatch
it's-
it. I haven't rewatched it in a very long time, so it's really hard for me to, tell you you're wrong or right or agree or disagree with you, because it's been so long. I'd have to. I mean, you own it,
You can watch it anytime.
so I have to watch that and drive.
True.
So no, it is a goofy movie, and if it was on, it is one of those
I love
movies
the
that I
goofy
would
movie.
put it.
It's like Bill and Ted. Everyone, like, a lot of people love Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Those movies, they're just kind of silly and dumb.
Campy.
Yeah, they're campy. Like, they're not trying to be great, but
Now,
they're
what-
really fun to watch.
When I say like a bad movie, like, it's not like the Joker. It's not like engrossing, it's just one of those movies that it's just kind of fun to have
And the Joker
on.
is a great movie, is what you're trying to say,
Yeah,
right?
why, I don't understand.
It sounded
why
like you were saying, shit, Joker was a crap movie, so it's not like that.
No.
Well,
I'm
you said-
saying like Joker has like a really deep story, and like it's just one of those like. Do you remember UPN 38 where they would just throw on like Rush Hour or one of those movies? It's not the greatest movie, but it was just a good one that they had. Or Beverly Hills Cop. It's just one of those movies that's on.
Rush Hour 2 is pretty great.
Yeah, but it's not like the greatest of great movies, but it's just kind of
Video game movies
I'll
get so
watch
much
it.
crap, and I don't like Mortal Kombat being thrown into that mix of like crappy.
I always
evil.
threw it out there as the only good video game.
Yeah, that's
movie.
how I kind of think of it.
Up until like Detective Pikachu, I would say was good, fine. There hasn't been like an amazing video game movie though, like one that's like, oh my god, this is actually like a fucking masterpiece,
I thought Fassbender with Assassin's Creed was going to probably do something.
I wanted that to be good so
decent.
bad.
I was like, oh, they got Michael Fassbender, and then I was like, oh, just the reviews.
That was just unfortunate. That was around the time like Assassin's Creed was really bad, like in general, because that was pre-Odyssey, that was pre-Origins, so that was like around that weird time of Assassin's
where it was
Creed.
not in a good spot.
Like he's just one of my favorite actors. I really wanted that movie to be so good. I thought the same thing when I went to go see Prince of Persia. My God, what a train wreck that was.
Prince of
With Jake Gyllenhaal, Prince of Persia.
I was going to say Prince of, I was like, Jake Gyllenhaal wasn't Prince of Persia, right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
But
and I never saw Warcraft, but that looked like a pile of crap too.
Yeah,
isn't that all CG?
Yeah, no,
I think it's.
there's
I don't know.
peeps.
I didn't see it, but
There's some
I
humans in it.
completely
hear good
forgot
things.
that they made a World of Warcraft movie.
See, that's the thing. Warcraft didn't look like it was going to be like a complete like unwatchable train wreck. It looked unforgettable, which is
you mean
almost as bad.
forgettable?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Unforgettable would be.
It looked very forgettable, but like
Well,
yeah,
it looked like a CG, like something you would see in a cutscene. Like I remember playing Warcraft 3, and I love the cutscenes, like from the actual game. But that's all I thought it was. I was like, yeah, this is. I mean, essentially, World of Warcraft is like Lord of the Rings. Like so, I don't know. Making it is kind of hard to change to make a distinction from. The class that it's
there
in.
has already been an amazing video game movie. It was the first Wreck-It Ralph. That movie was pretty great. It was not based on a video game though.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
So
kind of
based
made
on a, but Wreck-It Ralph was great. Yes, it was.
The first one.
They made a second.
Yeah,
one?
Ralph Breaks the Internet came out like last year. It was,
Oh, I completely forgot about
it
it.
was fine.
What about the other? What's the Ready Set Play?
A Ready Player One, that wasn't
Yeah.
a video game movie.
Oh, was
That
it?
was based off of a book, and it was more about nostalgia and like retro references more than it wasn't really about video games. It just had video game
Oh,
references. in it.
yeah. Someone pointed out to me, they were like, "Hey, look, Duke Nukem's in the background." I was like,
He was.
"Oh yeah,
He was there.
indeed."
Duke Nukem, that'd be a great movie.
That would be
I would
a
love
funny, corny,
just to
like.
watch Duke Nukem.
I don't know if you can
be a
make that movie. It's like so
No.
anti-PC.
You'd have to make it in the 90s. You'd have to
Yep.
go back in time and
Yeah,
make
but it
the
might be
movie.
one of those movies to upset the establishment, like like screw you, like we're putting this
Well,
out there, kind of thing.
I don't
like
think
South
the
Park is offensive.
character. Well, that's another thing. South Park was invented in like '97. Like I feel like it's not as much about being too PC or not too PC. It's about like it's just out of its element in this time period. Like it worked in the '90s and like just
Yeah, it could be fun if they had him like somehow like travel from like the 90s to like today and like
a fish out of water story.
Yeah, like
yes,
nothing he's doing
Yes!
is clicking
That
with
would be
anyone.
funny.
And just,
Guys,
everyone's
we are-
like, we need to sit this guy down.
We are totally gonna write a Duke Nukem movie. That's gonna happen.
Duke, that's actual sexual harassment. You shouldn't do that. Oh,
Gotta come up with a good title for it.
He just immediately gets cuffed in like the first.
Oh my God.
Jail.
you could just make it Duke Nukem PC.
Now, who would you cast? Like, what one of today's? Because you
Ooh.
can't. I instantly thought of Arnold, but he's too old now to be Duke Nukem. So, who would you cast to be like a current Duke Nukem? I would think like Tom Hardy would probably pull it off.
I feel like Dolph Lundgren.
He's too old.
He's too old, but that's kind of the point. I guess he would be.
Duke
he's
Nukem was
time
like in
traveling.
his 30s.
He's supposed to be the same age.
Yeah, like because oddly enough, before you said that, I also thought of Dolph Lundgren because I thought of Rocky IV. I'm like, that was Duke Nukem right there. So
I'm frustrated because I feel like I have a good person to play him, but I just can't.
Jesse Eisenberg.
Sure.
No, that was a joke.
Who's Jesse Eisenberg?
He was the kid from Zombieland, the main character with the curly hair.
Oh God, no.
I know,
No,
that
you
was the
know,
point.
you know who I feel like actually would be a pretty good Duke.
You?
No. Now I apologize because I don't know his name, but he was in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Chris Pratt?
No.
Oh,
the big dude, the brunch guy.
Yeah. He played
Like, can you see me?
Dave Bautista.
Yes. I feel
He
like he
would make.
I feel like he would be pretty good.
Good job, Dan.
Thank you.
All right, we got our casting. Now we just got to write the script and come up with literally everything else there is to do with the movie.
It's true.
Like the movie rights and how to make a movie.
Who even owns the rights to Duke Nukem? There was that one company that took
3D
10
Realms, right?
years to make that half-assed. Well, because it was like 3 games in one basically by the end of it.
Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah, I still haven't played it. I have it on my computer. Oh, I still have to play Inside too. I've got that game gifted to me for winning that contest on Twitter.
I heard that game was. Did you get the code and everything?
Yeah.
Oh,
she
I heard
sent it to me. She
that game
gifted
is,
it to me.
So depressing.
But it's like a side-scrolling puzzle game. So
It is.
I'm excited. Oh, you know who came up? I was watching a video yesterday about this. I have to look up like my watch history on YouTube just to remember it. But this guy was talking about things that were basically Pokemon, but didn't or Pokemon or Digimon, but didn't really live up to that same mentality. And it's one I've never heard of in my life, but it's a developer I've heard of.
That came out
Almost a knockoff. Yeah.
Was it the 3DS game?
Yes.
Yuka.
No, not Yukai Watch.
Okay.
That's because that's actually successful.
Is it?
Oh yeah, it's huge in Japan. It's pretty big here too. Jeez, where is it? It's called Spectrobes. It was just a very interesting one, but the reason I thought of it was because guess who developed it, Matt? Jupiter. The ones who do Picross.
Oh, that's fine.
And I saw that, and it's funny on the video. It's made by a company that probably doesn't exist anymore. I'm like, no, they do exist because they make my favorite go-to-bed puzzle game in the world. They make Picross. But I just thought that was interesting. Wow, we're doing really good on time today. Is there anything else in the news this week that you guys wanted to bring up?
There was something that I thought was pretty neat. Kind of going back to Resident Evil. I guess Capcom just out of nowhere said that there's going to be a prequel chapter to Resident Evil 7.
Yeah, isn't that in Japan only though? And it's like a walking simulator. It's not really like a.
From the gameplay or from all that I saw that was announced was like a poster or something of it looked like DLC type of thing.
That's an interesting game to make a prequel of. That Resident Evil specifically, the one that we all kind of say wasn't really a Resident Evil game. So that's just very interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what Matt, you beat it?
The game? Yes,
Resident Evil 7?
Yeah.
I mean, it already seems like there is a prequel to that game, which was the demo, which was the guys that take the camera crew into the house.
Yeah. And they've got a couple DLC expansions that kind of flesh out some of the side stuff too.
One of them was absolutely horrendous. I think it was Zoe or the something of Zoe. It was you basically walk around with your fists and punch things.
That's where I fell off because I was doing all of them and then I just got that after a while. I was like,
terrible. It was a DLC. I mean, gee whiz, any way to cash in, but the regular game is great. It's great as a horror game. It's not great as a Resident Evil game.
If I had to put games in categories, especially considering the long list of games I still have to play from years past and current games, there's gotta play now, gotta play soon, gotta play eventually, definitely on the list. This is in that category of maybe if I'm bored.
Oh, Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
I was going to say, where would you put Resident Evil 2 Remake?
Oh, that's towards the top.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to be playing that before year's end for a
Game of the Year right?
watch. That's a must play for me this year based on that. And I hate to be forced into playing games, which it also sucks that I won't be playing Outer Worlds right away either because I feel like that probably would have been in the running for me because it looks like my type of game.
It does look a lot of fun.
But I don't know. Capcom's been really hitting it out of the park these past couple of years, so it's not like this is a slight at them. It's just kind of a weird move. I actually wonder that DLC for Monster Hunter World just came out recently.
Iceborne?
Did you play that at all, Dan? I know you liked the game.
No, I did like the game. I was just kind of done with it at that point.
Did you ever beat it or?
You
wanted me to play it at one point, really.
I did. It was fun.
Just didn't look like my type of game.
Yeah, the more I beat the campaign per se, but then there's
that counts
plus
as beating the
so
game.
Yeah, I beat that part of it. It's just it wasn't engaging towards the end. It just felt like I was doing the same repetitive thing.
Yeah.
But if people love getting like really like difficult loot to get type of thing. Kind of like essentially it's like raids. It's just constant raids against like giant monsters.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't for me. Once I hit a certain point.
Did you play that, Matt? Monster Hunter World?
No.
Oh,
Well, I played it briefly, but I didn't really
didn't really
get
like
into
it
it much. Yeah.
Yeah. So Capcom, what else do they really have on the slate now? Because Capcom's one of those companies where it's like, I feel like they have a large number of their games that just don't appeal to me, so I forget that they're coming out. Like I'm not into like obviously I still do want to play Mega Man 11, but like I'm not into the fighting games that they do, or the Marvel versus Capcom stuff. So it's outside of Mega Man and Resident Evil, what other franchises do they have where they could have something potentially coming out next year?
Next year?
Did they make Okami?
Yes.
I would love to see another
They did make an
Okami game.
Okami. They did make Okami. They made Devil May Cry, but obviously Devil May Cry 5
just came out.
So the only thing they could possibly do is like announce.
I mean, they're a
DLC
smaller
for it.
developer. It's not like they have like 1,000 games coming out every year.
No,
I mean, they've already said they're making like a mainline Resident Evil game. So even I think after like Resistance or whatever it's called, there's gonna be like a
Well,
proper-
and on top of that, there's the whole speculation Resident Evil 3 remake.
Now, is that just
as well.
speculation based on the fact that, oh, wow, Resident Evil 2 sold really well, they must be working on it? Or have there been actual like, leaked information?
No, there's been some leaked information that they've been working on it. It's just obviously it took them a long time to get the other one out. So it took them, I think 3.5 years to get the other one out. So at that point, I bet Resident Evil 8 is the next thing on the list. Well, Resistance, but that's just going to be like,
count.
that's just like a multiplayer aspect of
It sucks that they remade the first Resident Evil so many times, because that's probably not one that they're going to be remaking anytime soon in kind of that newer RE2 style, because they just remade it like a few years ago.
But it doesn't even need to. It was
Yeah,
one
but
of
that
those,
was just a reskinning. It wasn't like a full-on remake.
yeah, but
and no, you're right. They don't need to, because like the reskinning of the game was still amazing.
But on
Like, it
top
was
of that, I
really
feel like
good.
that one was more about conserving your ammo than actually like fighting. So at that
Yeah.
point, I don't really think they need. Yeah, they could add more zombies and stuff like that. But this one, Resident Evil 2, was like you go into a lab that's
action,
infested, and and on top of that, you were walking around outside the city, and there was a lot of zombies there. Whereas Resident Evil 1 was all pretty much in that
In the mansion, yeah.
So there was like you go into a room, there's one.
I just think it's just because I really like the game.
I mean, I love 1, and that's why even still with the tank controls and the HD version that they made of that one, it's still absolutely fantastic. And then paired with Resident Evil 0, which was kind of a neat. I don't know if either of you played 0.
I've watched.
Yeah.
I kind of fell off because there were so many like these like random games.
Code Veronica.
They stopped. They're like these non-canon. Like I mean, they're canon, but they're just like not mainline games. Like I don't know, 0 and
Code Veronica was one of them for the GameCube.
Code
I think.
Veronica was
they had a
pretty
bunch
well
for like
received,
they had a bunch for the 3DS. They had
those were basic. A lot of them. One of them was just like legit was just the that like special game mode where you just try and kill things and get time.
yeah,
then there was
Mercenaries. Yeah, it literally was just that. It wasn't even a campaign or
yeah, I
anything.
had that. That came out. I think it came out around launch. It was
Yeah.
kind of
Then there were those
disappointing
ones
'cause it
that
was just
you really liked.
not
the ones,
Resident Evil.
the ones where you're on the
Revelations
boat.
was
Revelations. that's the one I
Revelations was
thinking
pretty
of.
good because it played in a very similar style that Resident Evil 4 was, where and then on top of that it had almost some like RPG elements where you could upgrade your gun if you wanted to put it more into like the reload ability, like faster reload, or if you wanted to put more into damage, like you got components that you could add to your guns to do that, and you kind of chose the way you wanted to do it. But it was neat. I don't think the story was canon or anything, but it was a fun Resident Evil game.
So, would you be looking more forward to Resident Evil 3 remake or the next Resident Evil installment in 8?
Probably 3. I mean, I liked 7, but I didn't love it just because it wasn't Resident Evil, and I didn't like the gameplay. Like, I didn't like. I really enjoyed how 5 played, but I felt like that was straying too far from the formula. And then 6 obviously just wasn't a great game. I kind of almost wish they would make the Resident Evil 3 remake and then be like, all right, we're restarting. We're gonna make like a Resident Evil 4, but it's not. It's gonna be like a new timeline basically after 3. Because like at Resident Evil 4, they just kind of like went off the rails of what Resident Evil games are.
So, did you not like 4?
I loved 4, but it was like it was so different that
Well, was definitely the changing point.
Yeah, it changed. It changed so much that it was like, all right, this really isn't the Resident Evil games I like. What I like about them, but it's so good that like I can't be mad.
Yeah.
But I kind of wish they would make more of those. Like, all right, I'm in this like either like a house or a police department, something like that.
Yeah,
or
I
like
would
even
love
a
to
city.
see one where it's like more of a puzzle horror game. Again.
Yeah, because in Resident Evil 4, there's some puzzles, but it's not as much as in the
No.
first one. Like, there's not as much backtracking or like, I feel like it's not as much, it's not as much tenseness. It's more, action, which isn't necessarily what I come to Resident Evil 4, even if it's a really fun game.
What was Resident Evil 7? Basically just slower action?
Well, it's first person, so that
Yeah, it was first person, much slower. There weren't as many enemies. Like, everything was kind of more. It just felt like it was.
It didn't even feel like a Resident Evil game. Like there
that's
was
true.
barely any connection.
Yeah, there's no like characters or like you weren't like, oh, I'm part of Stars or
What
like,
type of
I'm
things were
fighting
you
Umbrella.
doing, though, in the game?
Typical like horror house. There's the father that's chasing you. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
you're basically just trying to like
Yeah, you get
escape.
locked in pretty much, and then it's like trying to escape the house initially, and then you find more information about, hey, there's something going on in this house. So he kind of, on top of that, he's there because his ex-girlfriend or girlfriend or whatever, it was kidnapped years ago, and he gets like some random distress call from her telling her where,
which is almost
he
more
is.
like a Silent Hill.
I was about to
Yeah.
say that sounds like Silent Hill 2.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and then it's mainly just going into the house and trying to save her, and then she keeps like, yeah.
If the one person who hasn't played Silent Hill 2 can already tell that was like, oh my god, that's Silent
Yeah,
Hill
'cause
2. It
Silent-
must be. They must have like pulled that right from
a
the
lot of
book.
the Silent Hill games are like, oh, my wife or my kid or whatever is like, I got a letter from this town. It's kind of similar to that, which like it doesn't even set up the way a Resident Evil game gets set up. No
So it
Umbrella,
was
really.
a great horror game, like I said, but it wasn't a great like Resident Evil game. Kind of like how Metal Gear Solid 5 was a fantastic game, but it was not a good Metal Gear Solid game, as it didn't explain almost anything when the point was trying to, fix between what happened between Metal Gear Solid 5 and the original Nintendo game. So, you having fun over there, Andy, changing your socks?
My feet are cold, so I'm putting on socks.
Great update.
Didn't really need Dan to point that out, but he did, and
I did.
If he was
That's
doing
where
it,
we
I
are
would
now.
point it out.
Because
so-
you're shaking the table and making a lot of
Yep.
commotion here.
Yep.
So
Just trying to bring myself down to your level, Dan.
Ouch. Unnecessary jab.
So, Dan, why don't you tell us
Bite
a little
me.
bit about the discussion topic for today?
the discussion topic that
Speaking
I
of
should.
Resident Evils and Silent Hills and
You have to.
Oh, yes,
Are you trying to
sorry.
look it up?
No.
Oh, I was about to say you came up with it.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna pass it off to you guys anyway. It was kind of a mix, so I don't know where you guys went with it because it was either one of the creepiest games I've ever played.
We did have options.
You
It
did- I
sounded
did
like
give
it
you
sounded like
options.
you wanted us just think of maybe like some of the scarier games or scarier moments in games that we've had in the spirit of Halloween.
Yes, in the spirit of
season.
Halloween, I wanted to do that. To do like some good horror games to play or creepy horror games that you've enjoyed, over the past, I don't know, few years, maybe. So that was.
Oh, I went deep into the well with this one. It's not the past few years.
all right.
Oh, I mean, whatever it is. I was just thinking.
I know you two are going to talk about Silent Hill 2 at some point.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Because that's, I mean, I feel
No,
like
I
every
have
time-
I have another game.
Which is fine. I've heard nothing but amazing things about the game from not just you two, so I don't mind that. But so I guess I can start.
Andy
So
starts.
It's a little different with me. I know you both of you, more or less throughout your history of gaming have played a lot of horror games, a lot of scary games. It's not that I'm averse to them, or try to not play them. I just don't play them. I haven't had as many opportunities to play them as others, despite the fact that, Dan, one of my best friends, has like a huge library of pretty much every horror game known to man. So I just haven't had enough opportunities. I also don't get very scared easily, especially when playing video games. I'm more of the type of person where if I hear something rustling in my home,
He
in
makes
real
fun of
life, I get very alarmed.
Oh, I thought you
and
meant in the game.
very scared. If it's in the game, I'm just like it's like I know I'm not in the game, so it's hard for me to be scared. I guess it's a little easier in games to scare me than it would be in movies. Movies, I'm completely unfazed by pretty much anything I see. Games, it's a little different because you are controlling the character and like the actions you do have consequence, and you are activating certain scenes. Like I do. Like, for instance, this wasn't even like a scary game or really a scary part of the game. It was just like, oh my God, that's there. Is in Bioshock 1, you're in the dentist's office, you turn around, he's just there. It's like, oh, that happened. That was surprising. Something that came to my mind, though, with this kind of exercise discussion topic, I took it in a really weird direction, I think, because it wasn't, these aren't really moments that, they were just unsettling.
Yes.
That's fine.
I would
That's what I was
say.
going to use. That word like best describes this category for me. Like games that make me like they don't necessarily like pop out at me and scare me. Like they're just like games where I'm like unsettled the whole time I'm playing, and like I'm like I don't want to go to the bathroom because it's dark right now, and like this is weird. And
But here's the thing:
this to stop.
The two games I thought of were unsettling, but weren't supposed to be, because they weren't horror games. One of them was, I would say, the polar opposite of a horror game. So there was a little known franchise. I thought it was trying to be one of the PlayStation mascots at the time, but I guess it was also on N64, so it couldn't have been. And it was Croc. It was
Crocodile.
Yeah, it was a platformer about this crocodile, and
Yeah, it's like
it
a
was,
fun kids game.
Yes.
All
yes. So there was Croc 2, Legend of the Gobos, and I distinctly remember, I don't know why I felt this way. So I was like 9 or 10 when I was playing this game, and I believe there's 4 worlds in the game. And the 4th world is like the Gobbo world. It's like this Amazon world. And it was just like eerie because there was nobody there and there was no music. Or at least I don't remember there being any music. And I just remember as a child being so unsettled in this like area. It just I don't know, it just like made me feel like really worried that like there was no one around, no one was making any noise, and it was just this like empty world. And like there's a few Gobbos, they were like these little furry fuzzy creatures like from the game, and there were a few of them around, but I don't know, I just distinctly remember feeling that way when I played that game. Another instance also on the PS1 was Digimon World. Now, Digimon World, this unsettling feeling comes more from, I feel like, game glitches and poor translation, as well as atmosphere. Because the game, again, another game with really no music in the world at all. So you're traveling around with this Digimon who at any time could die randomly. You wouldn't know he was going to die. He would just die of old age at random, and you'd be traveling around this world that was basically in Japanese. Like the sound effects they made were in Japanese. The writing on everything was still Japanese. And then they would randomly, there would be this glitch where it would accidentally add extra integers or characters to your name. So like my name was Andy, but all of a sudden it would be like Andy Man. It was really weird. And I remember just traveling around that world was really unsettling because there was no music whatsoever. My Digimon could randomly die. I would randomly be in parts where, you know, guys were way bigger than me and way higher level than me. And there was this guy in a coffin. And I love Digimon. I actually really want to go back and replay that game because it's actually the best Digimon game I've ever played. All the other ones kind of sucked. But yeah, those are the 2 instances that came to me were 2 games that weren't supposed to be scary in the least.
How do we follow up Croc and
Croc
Digimon?
2? Croc 2 Legend of the
With
Gobbos.
actual games that are meant to be scary.
Another
I thought of this discussion very differently than Andy did.
another one would be I would say something that generally I would say it didn't really scare me, but I acknowledge how like creepy and kind of unsettling it was the playable trailer for Silent Hill. The first time I saw that.
PT?
The trailer?
The playable trailer, PT.
So okay,
like,
the
free
actual
download.
game itself. Okay.
It's called playable trailer.
Right, I completely forgot about
Yes.
that. Yeah.
That was pretty unsettling. With the fetus in the sink and
Like the
all that other
whale
stuff happening.
baby.
But once you
thing.
realize that like there's certain times where like the atmosphere is making you try to feel really scared, but it's like you just stop and it's like, well, nothing's actually happening. It's just noise. It's just like atmospheric noise and stuff like that. I'm sure there's some other instances where, like, I guess, again, without playing a lot of horror games, it's really hard for me to come up with examples. But there have been certainly some times where like games have accidentally been unsettling to me, mostly as a child, I guess. But I'm sure you guys are going to talk about actual scary games that may have had the right to scare you.
Maybe.
No Croc 2?
No, actually,
Okay.
mine's not Croc 2.
FIFA 20. No.
That would be scary.
Is that a callback to a previous pod?
No.
Oh.
No. I don't even think we've ever even mentioned FIFA on this podcast.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, I was thinking back to some of my favorite ones. I would say for more of an actiony game, I was thinking of Dead Space, like how much fun it was to just kind of go through that. And it again, like you were saying earlier, the idea of something that's kind of unsettling, just like you're in this giant, space station area, and a lot of the sound, like especially when you go out into the areas where there's no oxygen and there's like no gravity or anything like that, and the sound just stops, and all you can hear is like some guy right before he attacks you, you can hear something, and like everything else is silent, and it's just very unsettling, and just kind of the way that you can dismember enemies and how they can unfortunately dismember you like in horrible ways if you get caught off guard. It gets to the point where you're just like scared of seeing anything, because like you don't know if you see like a dog with 3 giant limbs, you don't know if there's another one behind you, and you kind of don't have time to. You can either look or take care of this guy in front of you. So you just kind of have to take care of the guy in front of you and hope there's no one that's going to like attack you from the side.
That game actually generally creeps me out. I would say it's also one of my favorite games.
Yeah, I love it. I kind of want to play through them all again. I played through the first one like 6 or so months ago, and I really enjoyed it, but I didn't get to the other 2. I think one is supposed to be the best.
One is the best.
One is, it's kind of like the Resident Evil series. Like, 1 would be like the 1 and 2, and then second one was kind of like 3 and 4, like good, and then the third one just became ridiculous.
Yeah. I've heard nothing great about the third one.
It wasn't.
The second, I would say play the second.
But I forget.
Second one was good, and he finally speaks. Like Isaac actually speaks.
So another one I was thinking of, I've talked about this one before, is Parasite Eve, which is like one of the only role-playing games that I can think of, or at least that I really enjoyed, that was kind of had like a eerie, dark tone to it. Like you start off in you're going to this like a show with your boyfriend or whatever, and you're a cop, and like everyone in the room dies and like basically bursts into flames in front of you, and like there's the person that's singing opera in front of you is just kind of turning everyone into like a ball of fire, and you're the only one that survives, and you have to figure out what's going on, and like you go through the different rooms and aisles of that theater, and like you'll see people just like dying, burning alive, and you're trying to figure out this whole nasty thing. And I think they did a really good job. We talked about this during our kind of favorite music discussion, where I played some Parasite Eve music, but it had this very good way of kind of giving you an unsettled vibe and really kind of fleshing out the world. And the other game I was thinking of is, of course, the one you mentioned earlier, Silent Hill 2, which I think kind of for me takes the cake of like every moment just being unsettling. When it comes to like the music is memorable, the characters, just like the storyline, and just you get called to this random town because of a letter that you think your wife, who you thought passed away, sent you a letter, and you're trying to figure that out. And it's like you don't really know what's going on, who's what your past is, and you kind of learn more about yourself and what you've done, and like the characters around you, of like if they're real or not. And it just kind of it's you never really get a grasp on it. You kind of have to play through it like multiple times. There's a bunch of different endings, which can be really interesting to see how it can go. Like you can do better or worse, but I think like everything in that game is just completely.
Speaking of going back to what you were saying about Dead Space, the other thing that was pretty, I would say, heart racing about that game was the one necromorph that you couldn't kill.
Oh God, yeah.
He was
in the library
you'd
area.
End up like freezing him in the end, but like you could not kill him. He would.
Yeah, he'd regenerate.
You'd find him, and it's just like, all right, cut off enough of the limbs and get as far away from him as possible.
Yep, cryo, and just make him freeze. Because I remember that was a really intense moment in that game. There's like the library, and basically you're in a library of like movable bookshelves, and you basically have to like close them like really quick and get him.
I actually really want to replay that game now.
See, EA, there are people who love the Dead Space game, and you should make a trilogy.
Dan, before you get into your games, I am going to write down 2 games that I think you're going to talk about.
Okay.
I'm putting my phone down, and then afterwards I want to reveal it. I want to see how right I was. I love it. I love guessing what you're going to talk about.
I don't like being predictable to you.
You've spent, 13 years now talking to me about literally no other subject. So
that is true.
Except maybe a little football.
I think one is going to throw you for a loop.
The other one's Silent Hill 2.
No, I will not talk about Silent Hill 2 because I figured you would. Silent Hill 2 is my favorite horror game ever made, obviously. But
yeah,
I'm going to talk about something other than that because I wanted to give that honor to Matt.
Sweet.
So
talk
my
about
first
it, too.
game, that if you want to talk about a game that makes you get that feeling of unsettled, like for the entirety of the game, would be Alien Isolation.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say I wanted to try.
Played DM what? Damn you.
That is what I had written down. One of them.
Both of them.
Both of them, yes! Yes!
Damn it. Yes, Andy got it right. Anyway, so Alien Isolation is just, it is
The loudest scream you've ever recorded on tape.
Yes.
Well, now you can just sit in for Dan if he's ever not here.
That's true. Well, Dan would talk about this.
All right, goodbye, guys. No.
Might as well not be on the podcast anymore. Sorry, go ahead.
Wow, on that note. No, but it was just extremely uncomfortable moment to moment. Once the alien shows up, he is constantly in your game. He can kill you at any point. He can show up at any time, anywhere. At one point, I thought I could hide an event, kind of like one of those cheap, I can just hide an event and I can plan out accordingly. And all of a sudden, my controller kind of tugged a little bit, shook. And I was like, what the hell? And then all of a sudden, I couldn't control the character. That's because my character looked behind and she was being eaten. And I was like, oh, great.
That's like straight out of the movie, too, because don't you see the alien in a ventilation system in the movie?
Yes.
At one point?
At the first one, yes.
Yeah.
So, but it kind of, it's almost like a cutscene. Like when you go into the vent, like you press X and then it's a whole movement. Like she moves into the vent and you start crawling. And you kind of feel like, all right, I'm good. He's outside. He can't get me, whatever. There was no indication. Like I didn't hear a vent open or whatever. And he just appeared behind and killed me. I was like, holy shit. So literally nowhere is safe. There's no, save room or whatever. Like Resident Evil, you had that safe room. You were like, all right, I'm good. Like even in the Resident Evil remake was kind of goofy. Like even if Mr. X saw you go in that room, he's like, nope, can't go in that room. Like, so there was that safety. And in this game, you do not have that safety net.
No training wheels.
None. So, and on top of that, you can even add additional mechanics to the game. Like one of them is it connects like the PlayStation 4 like camera and audio to it, so that if you make a noise, so say you cough or you jump, or something, and you make a noise, it triggers the alien to come
Did it
towards
ask you before connecting?
Yes, it says you want to play that. And then
that is really cool. I've never heard of a game using the PlayStation camera in that way.
Yeah, but it sucks if you have like a child or something,
Yeah, I'm sure.
Or somebody, you're in an apartment with a bunch of people making noise because someone drops a pan, and then you're like, oh, what'd you drop? And then, oh, I'm dead. So, so it's neat. But
Are a lot of people dropping pans in your basement?
yes, all the time.
Is that like something you watch out for on a daily basis?
That was the first thing that came to mind. Anyway, and then the other game that Andy definitely friggin' knew what it was.
Yes.
before
Oh
I
my
friggin'
God.
said
That's
it.
so satisfying. I knew both
was,
games. It's Fear.
Is Fear, or First Encounter Assault Recon, which you basically played like or his title was Point Man, on like basically like a SWAT team, and you were basically called in for anything that was like any paranormal activity. And even your teammates are making jokes like, oh, we get called in and it's always, nothing. But this one you get called in and there's a team of basically this cannibal that eats people and then can basically, he can like he can kind of basically get their story like once he eats them. And on top of that, then there's also this connection with this weird little girl. So whenever he's around, typically the little girl is around, and she has these crazy powers where within the first 5 minutes she melts like a SWAT team into nothing but bones. And you're like, what the fuck? Like what? And she always pops out of nowhere, but for some reason just won't like kill you or attack you. She just kind of scares you. She just gets in your way, does something to freak you the hell out, and then she's just on her way. And just the whole game, you're wondering what the heck is going on. Why does this girl have these mysterious powers? And who is this guy that's like taunting me, the cannibal that's taunting me and telling me things that I'm supposed to know, but I don't. And it's just and then in between that is a really, really fun like first person shooter. But the soundtrack was absolutely fantastic. As well as for the time, the gunplay was really fantastic as well.
Fear was the first horror game I remember you gushing to me about in like full effect. Because that was the year we roomed together, I believe, in college that you were playing that game. Yeah, because I remember you would show us videos on your computer of some girl in the helicopter.
Oh, right.
Scene and like that was like my first memory of you like really like sinking your teeth into a horror game. And I'm sure before that you had played a lot of horror games. Like I'm sure you had played the Resident Evils prior to that and stuff like that. But
I think in college is when I really started getting into it because I was kind of afraid of the Resident Evils for a little while. And then I think I started playing Resident Evil 4 in college. And I think that's when Katie and Lee, or Lee was playing it, Katie was afraid to play it. But
for people listening to this podcast, I have no idea who these people are. They are all also people from college.
Thank you. Anyway, so I think I started getting into horror games in college.
Actually, you're the reason that I'm kind of into horror games at all, because like as a genre, I didn't really like, because I never really watched horror movies growing up, so I wasn't really into horror.
Well, neither
games,
did I either. Yeah. So it was just something. It was like, well, I don't like horror movies, but maybe I'll like the games, but. Yeah, those, and then obviously Silent Hill 2. Like
I called it though. I nailed it on. I do feel great. Is there anything you guys want to bring to the table before we bow out for the night?
No, I don't want to bring anything to the table.
One more unsettling moment from a video game, Final Fantasy VII, when you like wake up in the Shinra building and there's just blood everywhere.
Oh yeah.
The first time you play that as a child and you're like, there's blood on the floor.
You get to do that again for the first time.
Where does it go?
Ooh,
in a few months.
That is going to be a really cool, like. Oh, and that's going to be creepy too. Seeing Genova for the first time.
I thought you meant my excited noise. Boys, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Matt Talks Games. My name's Matt.
Wow, that was fast. You can find me, Dan, at Game Review Guy on Twitter.
And you can find me at Highly and Andy on Twitter. You can also find the podcast at manabarpodcast on Twitter or the Manabar on Instagram. We're really trying to do better at interacting. Well, I should say Dan's doing better at interacting with people on the social media. So
I'm trying.
We love to talk to people. We love to hear from you. If you have anything you'd like us to talk about or any questions or comments, feel free to email us at manabarpodcast@gmail.com. And with that, this is the Trophy Hunter, the Collector, and the Bargain Bin Gamer logging off.
Bye-bye.